Hey guys, hope you're having a great week. In this video, I'm going to go through a runner by runner preview of all 12 starters in the Everest coming up this Saturday. We're going to go through each runner, why I think they can win, why I think they won't win, and then go through who I think the top chances are. This is just obviously one of plenty of races that are going on Saturday, but I thought it was a really good opportunity to break down how you can go through the form to determine which horses or which horse you should back in a particular race, or whether it's a no bet race at all. And then on top of that, how you determine your stakes and all of that when it comes to betting on a race. And obviously, this is only going to be one of 20 or so races that I'm going to be betting into on Saturday. And we're not going to do a huge bet or anything into this race. It's all part of the overall staking plan, which I outlined in the racing show. But in here, I want to outline how you want to go through and research a race, research the runners, and give you an example of doing that for this particular race. I'm also going to do a video on the Caulfield Cup being run on Saturday as well, so keep an eye out for that. So the Everest is a $20 million race now as it currently stands. First place, 7 million, just under 3 million for second, 2 million for third, and so on. So huge prize money, 12 starters. And then you have the 4 emergencies. So if there are any scratchings, which in a race like this, it's very unlikely to be, then obviously those would come in. But it'll be 12 official runners on the day. We're going to go through each one of these. Currently, I Wish I Win and Jolie Star, number 1 and number 8, are equal favorites at $6. And when you have a race with a $6 favorite, you know it's a pretty wide open race with a number of chances. And that's why, races like this are really good to take you guys through the analysis process. Because you can find plenty of positives and also negatives about each of the runners, and these are the things you want to look at in terms of betting on every single race. And if you do that and you follow the proper research process and then stake your bets accordingly, then you can make profits. The reason why so many people lose money betting, not just on horse racing, but on sports and everything in general, is because of not doing any research and then just losing control when it comes to the bets that they're putting on, or a combination of both. But if you can get those things in alignment, which will show you how to do, then you can definitely be profitable. One thing, or a few things that I do before ever even going through the runners is firstly, look at what the conditions are going to be. So this track is currently rated a soft 6 at Randwick on Saturday. There is a little bit of rain around leading up to the meeting, just a few showers here and there, so it shouldn't make a great deal of impact, but we're likely going to be racing on a soft 5 track. Also, over the 1200 meter starting position, you want to bring up the track map and just be aware of that. So on Racing and Sports, you bring up the map here. 1200 meter starting position, this is where they start from, run down the side here, and then on the bend into the home straight down towards the winning post. So only really one turn, or one major turn to contend with. It's not as big of a disadvantage as, for example, the 1800 and 2000 meter starting positions on this Randwick track. But it's just definitely something to keep in mind. Obviously, if you are caught from a wide barrier, there is a chance you are caught out 3 wide through this bend, which we have seen. They generally race in this race each year in 3 across. So there are going to be runners likely to be caught wide. So paying attention to the speed map is really, really important. Last year's race was won by Think About It, which we were able to land. So we've gotten 2 winners so far in the past few years on the Everest. We had Think About It last year, and then also had Classic Legend back in 2020. One thing you want to look at, especially for these big races, look at the preparation a horse followed leading into it. And if we go back to the Everest win for Think About It, where it beat I Wish I Win and Private Eye, it was second up leading into that run. First up run in the Group 2 Premier, where it beat Hawaii 5-0 and Bella Nipotina. Bella Nipotina and Gearkick are the 2 key runners that come through that race this year. It is interesting though, because those 2 ran 3rd and 4th in that race, and the race was won by Airman, which was, I think, paid 41 starting price. So potentially not the greatest form line, but it is a race that Bella Nipotina probably should have won that race had Williams been able to generate clear running. So those are some of the key things to look at early. Other factors before analyzing the runners is just get a general idea of the speed map. So there's 2 ways you can use this. Is use the speed map on punters or on one of the other sites, or you can use the Racing New South Wales official maps, which you can see here. They have Stormboy and Lady Camelot, so the 2 Waterhouse runners leading the race, with IME in the box seat. Growing Empire, one out, one back. Private Eye, caught three wide. Traffic Warden, three pairs back the fence. Gearkick on the south side. Current favorite, Jolie Star, four pairs back on the inside. Definitely can't see McDonald settling that horse there. That'd be a very, very difficult position to win from. And Sunshine Paris on the outside, then Steph Magnetica, I Wish I Win, and Bella Nipotina bringing up the tail of the field from its wide barrier. Looking at this, I don't think this is the exact map how this race is going to play out. Looking at this alone, J-Mac won't be on the fence on Jolly Star. Sunshine in Paris probably caught out three wide, same as I Wish I Win. Traffic Warden likely in traffic from its low draw. And then Bella Nipotina, Williams will have a decision to make whether he wants to go forward early and follow Lady of Camelot across, because likely they're going to have to go forward. Because if he does drift back and end up last against this field, it's going to take a huge run to be able to pick them up. So that's going to be the key factors early on when they jump. Alrighty, so running through the runners. Firstly, number one, I Wish I Win, currently a $6 favorite. This horse comes into this race third up. It ran second in the Everest last year, closing off behind. Think about it. Had barrier one that day, copped a little bit of traffic, which was always going to be the key for it. Last year when they went into this race, they resumed over 1400 and were stepping back to the 1200 meters second up. This year they've gone 1000, 1200, now staying at the 1200, which is probably a slightly more suitable preparation coming to this race third up. So this first up run here ran fifth behind Mornington Glory. Mornington Glory led this race. I Wish I Win was back second last in the run. Closed off pretty well to be only beating them 1.1 lengths on the line. Mornington Glory led all the way to win that race. Heisugi closed off pretty well as well. Didn't really come on through that. Lady of Camelot beat home. I Wish I Win in that race. And Lady of Camelot rises at 1 kilo. So probably overturns that margin, especially up to the 1200. Tough to make up ground when you're back second last, especially around the valley in a race won by the leader. Then at Moonee Valley in the Manikato Stakes, that race won by Southport Tycoon. Growing Empire ran a close-up second, who also lines up in this race. The key for this run, I Wish I Win, drew barrier number 11, was caught back three wide, had a bit of cover, ran on strongly. Growing Empire led and was run down in the final stride, unfortunately for us, by Southport Tycoon, who Zara was back on the fence inside, so well back in the field. As I said, I Wish I Win was caught three wide. Southport Tycoon was on the fence in that same group, and Zara was able to get the runs up along the fence to get out there and pick up Growing Empire to win the race. But fairly controlled by the lead runner there once again, and I Wish I Win did make up ground from the back. Draws barrier 9 in this race. That's probably a lot better than the barrier number 1 that it had for this race last year. This is a horse that tends to get back and then run on, so should get us a chance to be running on down the middle of the track at Randwick. I think at the current price around $6 is a touch short. Definitely is a genuine winning chance, but personally would have it closer to the $7.50, $8 mark as opposed to $6 in this race. I think comes into this race not quite going as well as it was last preparation, but we haven't been able to get as good of a guideline of its runs, both at Moonee Valley. I think getting to the bigger track of Randwick is definitely going to suit it. Big horse, big open spaces, definitely a chance and definitely a top 5 chance, assuming that you can run on from the back. Number 2, Gearkick won this race back in 2022. Only had 2 races over the past 12 months. So key things have gone wrong, but back at the race here. Big thing here, Zara taking the ride. Now, with the Caulfield Cup being run in Melbourne on the same day, Zara goes around chasing the big races. He won the Caulfield Cup last year on Without a Fight. Elected to not have a ride in the race this year, and is here taking the ride on Gearkick. So definitely, and he's never ridden this horse before either. So obviously, I feel like obviously it's a big prize money race and you want to try and win it if you're a jockey. But I feel like he must have some confidence that Gearkick is here to run well, and you always have to be aware of whatever runner Zara is on in a Group 1 race, that's for sure. Both, as they've had 2 runs over the past 12 months, both of them have been pretty poor. So firstly, Oh, they're both at Randwick. Firstly, fifth behind I Am Me. Bella Nipotina also in that race. And then Private Eye finished in fourth. So being 3 lengths there under the 60 kilos. Then went back to the trials, won the trial, pushed along a little bit to win that trial, but has won both trials, but just hasn't done much on race day. Then ran fourth behind Airman in the Premier, as I mentioned earlier, and had his chance once again to prove there. James McDonald's ridden both runs this preparation. He's been on in the trials, and he's elected to go with Jolie Star. Could be, a little bit of just more of a pickup for Zara as opposed to, key target runner, as McDonald would have had first choice of this horse if he wanted it. So definitely am concerned. It's going to have to improve significantly to be winning this race. The main positive, obviously, it has been here and won this race before, runs well at Randwick. Third up now, so should be getting close to peak of fitness. Gets barrier number 3, so does no work from the draw, gets in just in behind the lead group, and then will get its chance to run on strongly, but personally just can't back it of what it's been doing so far this preparation. Number 3, Private Eye. This horse ran third in the Everest last year and sat 3 wide the trip there, which is probably where it ends up again in this race, drawn out in barrier number 10. It's hit the line well in both runs this preparation. Firstly, a fourth behind IME Bella Nipotina, Way to the Stars. That was a race Gearkick ran fifth in, and then went to the 1100, beating 1.6 lengths behind IME. It's closed off in both those runs, hit the line pretty well, and been caught out wide in both. So has had excuses in both these runs, like that last start where it ran sixth. There was a lot of controversy and whatnot about that run. It jumped really well, so it was first out of the gates, but drawn wide as Jay Ford restrained back, took it right back to the back few runners, but still caught out 3 wide, and then came widest around the field and did close off really well. Hit the line, hasn't hits the line without really threatening as a potential winning chance. It's hitting the line when the race is all but over. It's going to need a big performance here to win this race. I don't think has been going as well this preparation. It's interesting. Jay Ford is sticking with it here. Nashville Willow rode it last year and would be probably the preferred jockey booking. However, he is with number 5, I Am Me. Feel like, if Jay Ford's able to slot in and not get caught 3 wide, then it's definitely a chance and better than a $26 chance. But if he is caught 3 wide, then I feel like the price is about right there on Private Eye. Number 4, Bella Nipotina. This horse is very, very consistent. It's had 54 starts, which is the most of any horse in the field, and has won 9, placed in 63% of starts. So super, super consistent. Only the 1 win at Randwick, which is a little bit of a concern. Both runs have been there. This preparation was unlucky not to pick up I Am Me here. First up, over 1,000 meters, was flashing out at late after coming from back along the inside. Then in a Group 2, last start in the Premier, probably should have won this race. Just copped a lot of traffic in the straight in what was only a 7-horse field. Realistically, should have gotten the clear running and won. If there is a bit more rain around than is expected, that definitely suits this horse. It goes very well on rain-affected ground. And lining it up through the other runners here, has beaten Gearkick both runs this preparation, does get a slight weight swing on that horse into this race that is well suited from that perspective. The biggest concern is obviously the barrier. Drawn out in barrier 12 is going to need a very, very good ride from Williams. It's generally a horse that settles off pace, runs on. Whether they can do that in this race is the big question mark. They do have the option, if Lady of Camelot goes forward, Williams can follow that horse across, but potentially ends up getting caught 3 wide without cover if he does that. So the first 200 meters is going to be key with this horse. If he is able to slot in and get a little bit of cover, even 3 wide with cover, then it's definitely a chance, especially if that rain has affected the track a little bit. But at the end of the day, Williams knows this horse really well. He's had 19 rides on it, placed in 15 of those 19, including 5 wins. So he knows how to get the best out of her. My opinion is definitely a chance if the breaks go her way. But with that barrier, is definitely more of a midfield kind of chance, looking at fifth to seventh kind of placings. But potentially even worse if things go really bad from that wide draw. Number five, I Am Me. This horse has won both starts as preparation. Firstly, over 1,000, where he was able to hold off Bella Nipotina. Then to a Group 2, where McDonald got on board and was able to hold off Steph Magnetica, who was finishing hard up along the fence. And Steph Magnetica was in front through the post. So was potentially like a little bit lucky to beat that horse, but we're on that day, and it got the win. So that was all that mattered at that time. Meets that horse half a kilo worse, so not really ideally suited. Stepping up into this race. The other thing I will say, did have every possible chance in both of these runs. Got the box seat, was able to get clear running at the exact right time when she needed it to show that acceleration and kick clear and win. Loves racing at Randwick, 5 starts for 4 wins and 2 from 2 at this track and distance. Nash Willa takes a ride. He's won his only start on this horse. Obviously, McDonald jumps off to go with Jolie Stars. I think that's a little bit of a lead in itself. The concern I have with I Am Me is whether she can run out a really strong 1,200 meters, which you need to be able to do to win this race. Previously, has performed pretty well over the distance. If you go back to around this time last year, was running out the 1,200 meters strongly. But just the way the final 100 meters have gone, and like sometimes when horses have really soft runs, the gaps appear, they should have a lot of still in the tank over that final 100 to 200 meters. However, both runs, like you've been with IME, you've been wanting that finish line like to come up as soon as possible because you can see runners flashing at her. Gets barrier number 1, so probably gets that dream run once again in the box seat. At worst, 3 pairs back, but I think Nash will be aggressive early, make sure he gets that box seat and just keep pushing through to make sure he holds it. But being up there on speed, then being able to run out that 1,200, feel like it's just a little bit too much of an ask. And I feel like it's just a little bit too short at the 16 kind of range that it is at the moment. Then number 6, we have Steph Magnetica. This horse ended last prep with a Group 1 Stradbroke win up in Queensland over 1,400 meters. Resumed behind IME. So as you know, all these horses have very similar form lines. A lot of them are coming through the same races, and was pretty unlucky not to win this race. I think if it was over 1,200 meters that day, then would have picked up IME, that is for sure. Meets that horse half a kilo better, so is well suited. Zach Lloyd sticks. He has a good record on this horse, placing in all 3 career starts up to the 1,200 meters. Definitely suits. And I really like the way it was, because I really like the way it was strong through the line there over the 1,100. It's only going to be better up to the 1,200. Yet to win second up, however, has placed in 3 of 4. 2 placings from 3 starts at Randwick. Everything that Steph Magnetica has done on race day looks good for a race like this. The one concern I have is just this trial here, which was at Rose Hill over 900 meters, finished second behind admitted. And if you watch that trial, Steph Magnetica, Zach Lloyd was really riding her along really hard, like almost not to the level of a race with the whip and everything, but well and truly being pushed along, which firstly I don't love to see in trials unless they're targeting like a race first up just to get the fitness up. But even with that being said, the fact that Steph Magnetica didn't pick up admitted in that run, who was being held together by Rachel King, in comparison was very, very dramatic. Steph Magnetica should have picked up that horse. Now, in fairness, admitted did come out and win its start following that trial. However, you do have to keep in mind it was a Camelot and was a $1.80 favorite. And this is a huge step up from a Camelot $40,000 race to a $20 million Group 1. But yeah, this was just the one concern that of everything on race day, I was fairly keen on Steph Magnetica, but just this trial just raised some major red flags for me. But if you just look at the map, gets cover from barrier number 6, should get his chance to run on strongly. Feel like it's just a touch unders at the $13, but feel 15, 16, 17 is probably the right price, whereas IME in comparison, as they come through that same race, should be well into the 20s range for me personally. Number 7, Sunshine in Paris, has 5 wins from its 10 career starts and resumed with a really nice win in a Group 2 at Rose Hill, beating Mumbai Muse and Jolie Star. First thing I want to point out, this horse does have a very good first up record with now 4 starts for 3 wins and the second placing. But that was a really nice win, 58 kilos. Did beat Jolie Star, who is currently equal favorite for this race, so have to give it credit for that. There were issues with Jolie Star. You can forgive the 2-length margin a little bit, but did beat it. The concern obviously is coming to this race second up, where it's only had the 1 placing from 2 career runs second up. But loves the 1200 for 7 starts for 4 wins and 2 wins already at Randwick. Obviously wants dry ground with 6 starts for 4 wins and 2 placings on good tracks. Can get away with a soft track, but definitely don't want it any worse than that, which it definitely shouldn't be. Has trialed up at Randwick since that run, whereas 4th behind Lady of Camelot. This trial here with Sunshine in Paris was really, really nice. Majority of all the horses in that trial were good, all well held together, nothing really being pushed along, stayed with the group. Sunshine in Paris doing it without the cover, so do like it off that trial. Gets cover from here, barrier number 8, so Tommy Berry will look to just take a sit just in behind horses, probably lands in a really good spot. Probably the thing against it is, as I mentioned at the beginning, Jolie Star is going to be back midfield in a similar position to Sunshine in Paris, and McDonald's not going to just drop down to the fence and let Tommy Berry drop in on Sunshine in Paris one off. He's going to be holding that position. So it is kind of likely that Sunshine in Paris does get caught out 3 wide, which will make it tough for it. But definitely don't rule it out as a chance. Feel like it is around the right price at the $10 mark. Definitely wouldn't have it much longer than that. So definitely is a chance. If it gets in 2 off the fence with cover and shows the kind of run that it did first up, then there's a huge chance in the race. Number 8, Jolie Star, James McDonald for Chris Waller. It's currently a $6 equal favorite. Hasn't missed a place from 8 career starts, so very, very consistent. At the 1200, has had 4 starts for 3 wins and a 3rd placing, which we just spoke about behind Sunshine in Paris was that 3rd placing. However, that run was at Rose Hill. That's one thing I forgot to mention as well with Sunshine in Paris. Needs to take that Rose Hill form to Randwick. Does have the 2 wins there, but that first up win was at Rose Hill, not at Randwick. The positives here for Jolie Star. So the first up run where it was super, super dominant was over this track and trip, beating out Kobasan by 3 lengths and was pretty much under a hole. McDonald was looking around, for the majority of the final 100 meters of that race. So super, super impressive. Then went to Rose Hill and Karen McAvoy took the ride that day. So did lose McDonald and ran 3rd in that race. Stable saying they got this horse back to their best. Dry ground, which we're probably going to get, suits this horse. Only had the 1 run on soft track, which it ran 2nd in. So, shouldn't be like the end of the world if there's a bit of give in the ground. This trial, when finishing 8th, this was like your typical Waller trial. And you got to be really keep your eye out for these where they're in behind horses, held together, not being asked to do any work, but traveling along really, really strongly. If you see runners like that, definitely have to be aware of them, and that's exactly what this horse was doing in that trial. McDonald had the back of Sunshine in Paris and was traveling just as good, if not better, as Sunshine in Paris in that trial. Think it can turn the tables on Sunshine in Paris, especially from barrier number 4. It's drawn perfectly to get run of the race. You always have to be aware of Waller runners when they are in Group 1 races. Such a good record at winning the big races. And barrier 4 just gives McDonald plenty of options to give this horse every possible chance of winning. If it gets back to its first up performance, which you can easily see it doing, that first up run at Randwick, then to Rose Hill, now back to Randwick. It lines up really, really well for it coming into this race, and I think is definitely a major chance here. Everything is like pretty like aside from the bit of a letdown second up, which wasn't an awful performance, just wasn't at its best, and it was a very fast run race with the separation through the field. That's the only real negative, but we've got McDonald going back on board, which definitely helps offset that and back to Randwick. I just think there's just a lot of positive and hard to find too many negatives with that runner. Number 9, Growing Empire. We're on this horse last start in the Manikato when it was run down right on the line by Southport Tycoon. We had a good price on it there as well, so disappointing that it got run down. I do think it was better suited in the Valley race compared to the setup that it gets here. Craig Williams off to ride Bella Nipotina, so Karen McAvoy takes the ride on this horse for the first time. Was 1100 back up to 1200 meters there, and just got a little bit lost late over those final 50 meters, just really floated out in front. Tactics are going to be interesting with this horse from barrier number 7. They'll go forward and probably look to settle one out, one back. I don't think they're going to try and lead this race. Karen McAvoy's had plenty of success in the Everest, winning it 3 times, so he knows how to win this race. So would have confidence in him taking the ride. But yeah, I think the key with this horse is not getting to the front too early. So I think they're going to look for a little bit of cover, try and settle just in behind leaders. If you can jag that one out, one back position, that would be ideal for it. I'd say Jolly Star will be 3 pairs back in the running line, so one off the fence on its back. But just think Growing Empire is just a touch too short. Has to carry an extra kilo more this time around. 4th up now. Feel like this is not a great deal of upside left with this horse as well, where, a lot of the other runners that are major chances are all coming to this race 2nd or 3rd up, where Growing Empire now 4th up, still only a 3-year-old in 2nd preparation. So obviously, definitely a chance, but just too short at the current price. And I feel like last start was its really its chance to shine. We've backed this horse in all 3 runs this preparation. But just can't be with it at $7 in this kind of race. Number 10, Traffic Water. And this horse has been plenty of talk about. The stable is definitely majorly talking up its chances, which they don't always do. Like, they don't make a big habit of that. So I am very, very wary of this runner. When I was going through it, I was finding more negatives than positives, especially for a horse around the $7.50 mark. So we look through its form. First up, over 1,200 meters, beating a Node and Stormboy. A Node since come out and won. So that's Frank's the form there with a Node winning a Group 2 first up. Then went to 1,400 meters and just missed alongside Broadsiding, which, a week ago would have been really saying that's super strong form, and being Golden Rose form, always have to be wary of it. But last Saturday, Broadsiding went down to Melbourne as a $1.60 favorite and got back, tried to run on, but didn't make a great deal of ground up behind Private Life. There was plenty of controversy and whatnot about track conditions, but I feel like Broadsiding should have finished a lot closer than it did in the end. And then Mayfair, who ran 3rd in that race, ran last. Bring up the form here. Ran last in that same race. So you can see the finishing position there. Broadsiding beaten 1.3 lengths by Private Life, who did lead all the way, so did have advantage, but Mayfair also running really, really poorly. So that just made me a little bit concerned with the strength of this form, but generally, it's a race that you do want to follow. So from that run, Mellon Road last start, Jamie Carr gets on board here, drops 3.5 kilos coming to this race, being a 3-year-old. Comes back to the 1,200. So with that 1,400 meter run under his belt, should run out the 1,200 meters very, very strongly here. Jamie Carr, as I mentioned, on board. She's ridden this horse 3 times for 2 wins and a second. So has that experience riding this horse. Barrier 2 does no work from that low gate. Will be right along the inside, either in behind the leaders, probably 3 pairs back. And from there, just is going to need luck at a key stage, which is definitely a concern with this horse. If those gaps do appear, potentially could be a similar situation as I Wish I Win last year, when I was happy to take that horse on due to being back inside runners. Nobody's going to give you an easy passageway through and just, let the gaps appear. They don't do that in $100,000 races. They're not going to do that in $20 million races. So With that in mind, it's going to need a really, really good steer from Jamie Carr. She has just been suspended for the past couple of weeks for not electing to take a gap. Personally, I have no issues backing her. I know some people do, but I feel like she is one of the better jockeys going around, but is going to be required to take a gap in this race in order to be winning. So definitely something to just keep in mind. But yeah, with traffic warden setup, just not super sure on the form from last start, even though it is Golden Rose form. Then the traffic warden might have to work its way through to get an established clear running. And also just don't love the fact of both runs this prep being at Rose Hill, now going to Randwick. I don't think it's as ideal of a setup leading into this. Has had one start here for a close second, but only one run from its 9 career starts so far. The other thing to keep in mind is Traffic Warden is a $7.50 chance, and Storm Boy is currently $13, just underneath it. Traffic Warden has beaten home Storm Boy in both runs, so 0.9 of a length, and then in this run, bring up the results, half a length in that race was the margin between those two. Feel like if you give Traffic Warden a chance, then you definitely can't rule out Storm Boy. Storm Boy, both of these runs, so whereas third and fourth, was slow out of the gates and had to do a lot of work early in both those runs and wasn't beaten all that far by Traffic Warden. So with that in mind, like if you like Traffic Warden, you can't rule out Storm Boy. So just definitely keep that in mind. And there is, nearly the double the price between the two of them. Looking at Storm Boy, Brenton Avdulla comes back over to Australia to take the ride here for the Waterhouse and Bot Stable. That's a fairly solid lead in itself. First up was a dominant winner beating Mayfair, and did have to give that horse 2.5 kilos in that race. So there's plenty of merit to that win. Then went to the 1200 when beaten just under a length by Traffic Warden, was slow away, had to work early in that race. Then in the Group 1 Golden Rose, beaten 0.7 of a length in that race and was a touch slow away there as well and had to work early. If Storm Boy jumps fairly or jumps well in this race, is definitely a major chance and would have Traffic Warden and Storm Boy both around that $9 range. But if it's slow away, then it's going to make things really, really difficult. With Avdulla going on board, should get out of the gates pretty well. Is drawn perfectly in barrier number 5 to get every possible chance, even if it's just a touch slow away. They should slide through and land up there on speed. But if the start is bad, then things are going to get or become a little bit of an issue. Is in that similar same boat as Growing Empire, where they're fourth up into their preparation, so there potentially isn't a great deal of upside left with them. So that's obviously the concern. The thing with Storm Boy when looking at this race that I found is just Storm Boy is just that bit more of a drag on Traffic Warden and more of a reason to get Traffic Warden longer and than it is to have Traffic Warden more so towards being favored if you were to go the other way. So definitely keep that in mind. And then the final runner of the field, number 12, Lady of Camelot. Jumps from barrier number 11, Rachel King, 51 kilos. Likely goes forward from that barrier. I think it takes away their chance. This horse can go forward or can go back. I think if they go back, it really takes away its chances. Did win the Golden Slipper when they were able to, slot in a position more so midfield, but that's not going to be the case in this race. Kind of have to go one way or the other. This preparation ran third, first up behind Mornington Glory and Hayasugi, settled outside the lead there. Fair enough run without being amazing, especially when Mornington Glory led all the way to be winning. Then at Randwick, beaten just under 3 lengths by IME, was really awkward out of the gates in this race. I'm not exactly sure what happened, was being hard ridden early by Tim Clark. Feel like this is just like bit too much of an ask for Lady of Camelot. Obviously, did win the Golden Slipper over this distance, over the 1200. So can't absolutely just, rule it out purely based off the fact that it's a $51 chance. But I feel like just the way this race sets up, how it's been going, this preparation hasn't been setting the world on fire. Did beat home the runners in the trial, which you might look at. However, Waterhouse bot runners always trial, first and seconds just due to their pattern. And, later Camelot will get to the front, most likely from barrier number 11, or at worst be outside the lead. But as they come into the home straight and get to that 300, 200 meters, you can definitely see a number of runners going straight on past her. So definitely does look a little bit outclassed here. So looking through the field, the runners that I feel like are the major chances of winning are Jolly Star and Sunshiny Paris. They'd be my top two picks looking at the race. The other runners that I think are major chances if everything kind of goes right and the race sets up perfectly for them. Whereas I think Jolly Star and Sunshine Paris, like regardless, like they have lots of different options as to how they can be winning this race. Traffic Warden, if the brakes come. Storm Boy, if he jumps well, is definitely a chance. I Wish I Win, if we get a fast tempo and you're able to make up ground, is definitely another major chance. And Steph Magnetica is a small chance, kind of rounds out the selections if it brings its race day form and not that form, and you can forgive that last trial. So that's how I'm looking at this race. All my final selections, everything I'm betting is always all posted in the racing show the day before race day. So Friday afternoon, all my bets for not just the Everest, which I'll be backing one runner in this race, but all the other races on Saturday will be posted in there. Last week, we just passed over 1,400 units profit. I've been doing the racing show since October 2021. So basically exactly 3 years, and we passed 1,400 units profit. For example, what that means, if you're somewhat new to betting, or just to break it down, 1,400 units. If you're betting $50 a unit, and with the staking, we only stake up to 2 units on a single runner. So if you're a $50 bettor, then 1,400 units profit since the beginning is $70,000 profit that you've collected based on the selections over the time. On the website, I'll put the link in the description. You can go through and look at every single bet that I've ever sent out, and all those bets were sent out the day before. So it's not about like being glued to your phone, trying to follow along the selections right throughout the race day. The day before, you already have all your selections that you need to back, and then you have the option to bet them early and lock them in straight away, which a lot of members do. And that's how I track the results, based off the time when I send out all the bets to everyone. Or you can follow the markets and try and jag some better prices, which is you're definitely able to do, especially on Saturday races with a lot more odds movement going on. So you can, bet later on Friday, you can bet Saturday morning, throughout the day on Saturday, and just pick up a bit of extra money by taking slightly better prices for that part of monitoring the market. When you go onto the website for the racing show, you can watch this video here, which explains more about the system of what I do and how I do it. And then you'll see this section with the monthly results. So you can see of the 36 months from October 2021 to September 2024, during this period of time, we only had 2 losing months. April this year, we lost 22 units. And then in July, we lost half a unit for the month. Of the other 34 months, every one of them was profitable. We had 55, 70. You can go through and highlight them. A couple of big months in the middle of last year. And then around the 30s, 45, was a 62 unit month in December last year. And so, yeah, only the 2 losing months during that time. For right now, we've got Caulfield Cup, Everest Day coming up this weekend. And then we're just under now 3 weeks away from the Melbourne Cup. I put together a special promotion for the Caulfield Cup and Melbourne Cup, that if you join the racing show on the monthly package and you don't profit in your first month, then you get your next month free. So that's all new members starting today, the Thursday, the 17th of October, leading up to Melbourne Cup Day. So that's when that promotion will run to. So if you don't profit during your first calendar month, your first 4 weeks, then you get your next 4 weeks completely free included as part of your membership. I'll go through and extend it for you. So that's the game plan. I'll put the link to that in the description. As you scroll through and look at the results, you'll notice that these are the weekly results here. Majority of all weeks are profitable. Over the past 12 weeks, 10 of those weeks have been profitable. This week, currently, we're on track to be another profitable week, picking up, I think, 2.3 units on Wednesday. At one point, we're at just under 6 units, but we lost the last couple of races there, but still on track for another profitable week this week. So if you're keen on the racing show, I'd love to see you inside making money on horse racing. If you have any questions about it, put them in the comments underneath this video, or send an email to support@investor.bet.com.au. And really hope this video breaking down the Everest runners was helpful, not only for this race, but with some strategies and research factors you can use to apply to all the other races so you can be a profitable horse racing bettor. Thanks guys for watching. Good luck on the weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.